Good day, everybody. Welcome to the Rieg AD Wedding Show, day 81.
Yeah, what happened about
day 21 days?
21 days.
Yeah, no, that one is not real anymore.
Okay.
Episode 24.
That's real.
That is real. That's the date that's the age I made the decision of marrying.
It's a lucky day.
And I was 24 when I decided to marry the love of my life. So episode 24, your date, it is going to be a beautiful episode.
For sure. We are going to be discussing one of the most frequent questions we probably get.
Yeah, sunsets and what time to do the shoot.
Literally that, what time for the ceremony to start?
Okay, yeah, that's real. That's the true question.
So we often get the question, or let's rather put it that way, almost every bride and groom will ask us, what time must the ceremony start? Now that's not something that you can just answer very easily. So what we've done over the years is develop like a little bit of a template that we can help the clients with, but also just a strategy, and we want to try and share that with you today. So the first thing we do is we actually make use of an app called Sunseeker, and it's an app that you can install on any Android or iOS phone. It's clever. It actually you input the date that your wedding will take place as well as the location, and it will give you the estimated sunset time on that specific date. But it goes one step further, and it will actually give you the golden hour times as well. Now, golden hour is normally a time slot of roughly 50 to 60 minutes, a little bit before sunset to a little bit after sunset. And that's the ideal time for us to actually be photographing or doing your formal couple shoot. In golden hour, the light is normally the most pleasing.
It is at its best.
At its best, the skies are normally orange and pink in colors. The light is softer than early in the day, so you don't have that harsh shadows. And it's much easier to get incredible wedding photographs when you photograph in golden hour.
Yeah, any photographs for that matter.
Any photographs. So couples.
We always shoot in golden hour.
When we do a couple shoot or we do a family shoot as well, we always plan it around golden hour, no matter the time of the day or year. So obviously when we start, we try and estimate what time the sun sets. Working back from that, it gives us the golden hour, which is also the ideal time to do the formal couple shoot. Just please keep in mind that whenever we or you yourself do this planning, it's based on a perfect scenario, meaning that the weather on the day plays along. If it's going to be overcast or anything like that, obviously it is what it is. It's probably not going to be golden hour that day.
It's just gonna be
overcast hour.
Overcast. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, let's get back to the serious part. The bottom line is just, it's like anything you plan on your wedding. You plan for it to be perfect, but if something goes wrong on the day, you deal with it.
Can I interrupt?
You can, yeah.
It's like planning the program for today. We planned on doing it by the sea. We live on the beach, and it started raining. Yeah. We've got a perfect cloudy, overcast day, and not a golden hour.
Yes. So we're back inside. But that's why you make backup plans. Okay, so that's why you make backup plans. So let's rewind. So once you've actually got the time that the sun sets and you've got the golden hour time, you just need to allow before golden hour, because that'll be the time that we actually do the photo session, you need to allow some travel time. Now, we always advise our brides and grooms to try and keep any travel time to as little as possible. The best scenario for everyone involved is actually if you get married on a venue where the bride and groom can both get ready on the venue, the ceremony is on the venue, and the venue has got more than enough beautiful places that we can actually do the photo shoot there as well. If you end up traveling 15 or 20 minutes in one direction, you need to keep in mind you need to travel 15, 20 minutes back to the venue as well. All those times need to be added.
Yes.
So cater for any travel time if there's travel time. And then, because we're working backwards now from sunset, then you get to the family shoot. And the family shoot or the family session is often the most challenging part of the wedding day.
It is really.
And
most brides say, no, it's easy, my family is easy, his family is easy, we're just going to have a couple of photos. There's no such thing as a couple of photos on a family session. It needs to be planned, there needs to be lists. We always recommend to keep it as simple as possible, as close as possible. Mom, dad, granddad, grandma, brother and sisters. I mean, it gets.
Let's explain the reason.
Very difficult when it's more.
Whenever you're trying to get a lot of people to work together, it takes time. So if we simplify it by saying it takes at least 3 minutes
per group
to get a group of people together, get them standing correctly, and then photograph them. Because you can't just take one photo. There'll always be one person making jokes or a closed eye or something like that. So if you work on 3 minutes, and you take that by sticking just to the parents, grandparents, brothers and sisters, you are going to end up photographing at least 10 groups on the day. You talk about 30 minutes. So if you were planning to have your aunts and uncles and nieces and nephews and all of them photographed, you're going to end up with like 20 plus groupings, and your family photo session is going to take an hour or longer. And all that's going to do, unless your day was very carefully planned, it's going to cut into your own time for photographing your formal portraits, your golden hour. So this needs to be planned very carefully, thought of. You can always take photos or casual photos with your family at the reception at night, but keep the formal photo session as short as possible, stick to the close family, and remember our rule or guideline of 3 minutes per setting. It sometimes takes longer because you'll have someone who needs to run to the loo or wants to take a cigarette break or want to go get a drink at the bar, and it happens more often than not. We often have this discussion.
Or the person that was supposed to do the organizing just
disappeared.
Doesn't do it.
So we often have this, or we always have this discussion with a couple, you know, in the pre-wedding meeting. And funny enough, most of the couples will turn around after the wedding and say they didn't think, they understand what we're saying. They didn't think it was going to be such a big deal, but it is. It's people are trying to have fun, relax, and you trying to group them into groupings and let them stand still for photographs. So just keep that in mind. So you can't really allow for less than 30 minutes for the family session, and that's when you keep it simple and you stick to your close family. So once you've allowed that 30 minutes, you now get to the time just after the ceremony. So we always advise between the end of a ceremony and the start of a family photos to allow at least 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah.
That's just for everyone to just kind of congratulate you, get their bearings, and find out where they need to go. It's always a little bit of people gathering and talking and saying hi and congratulating. So allow plus minus 15 minutes for that. And now, still working backwards, it takes you to the end of the ceremony.
Sorry, can I also just add on? We also always suggest that with your minister, make an arrangement that just before you do the walking out, the confetti walk, that he politely asks that the congratulations be held for when you walk or when you walk into the reception hall. It makes a big difference if you have 100 people attending your wedding and everyone just wants to quickly congratulate you. You can make your own estimations on where the time is going then. So just bear that in mind as well. Sorry, I don't want to sidetrack from the
I think we, with all of this, we're not trying to say that your day should all just be about the photographs, but there's a lot of bride and grooms out there for whom the formal photograph session is the most important part of the day. And all we're trying to establish is put together a very simple framework that you can work out how much time you're going to need for each one of these elements to work back and get the start of the ceremony and allow yourself ample time to get stunning photographs, because that's ultimately your only memory you'll have of your wedding. Obviously the other things will be photographed as well, but your formal photos are the most important. So we're now at the end of the ceremony. So it's very difficult for us to tell you what time your ceremony should start. We can bring you to the end of the ceremony in terms of our planning. So we work back from, we looked at what time the sun sets. Before that, we actually looked at golden hour, and golden hour is the ideal time for us to be photographing. Before golden hour, we added plus minus a few minutes for traveling, if applicable. Mostly if we're in a venue, you just walk there, or you have a quick drive on a game vehicle or something like that. Then the family session, which is roughly 30 minutes, and before the family session, 10 to 15 minutes after the ceremony, just so everyone can get a chance to say a quick hello and for you to just take a breather, because
I think that's the most stressful part of the wedding is the ceremony.
Yeah, and it's done now. That stressful part is done now. So then you need to chat to your officiant, and only your officiant will be able to tell you how long his ceremony is going to be. So in the last 300 plus weddings that we photographed, we've had anything
Short.
from 10, 15-minute ceremonies, literally 10 minutes from when the bride arrived, the ceremony was done, to over 2-hour ceremonies in a church.
Yes, depending on your religion, on what kind of wedding it is extremely important
Yeah, to chat to the officiant.
to find that out from the officiant. I mean, can you imagine when you planned a 20-minute ceremony and
It runs an hour.
I mean, then everything it's a snowball effect.
It's happened to us.
Yeah, I know.
It's happened to us where the officiant was very adamant that his wedding will be 20 minutes and no longer, and he ended up having a 60-minute sermon. And then suddenly everything was rushed and late from there because it was winter, the sun set earlier,
Challenge.
golden hour is shorter in winter time, all those sort of things impact. So it's very important to have a discussion with your officiant and remind him that you are actually planning the rest of your day according to what he's telling you.
Yes.
So, and then there's a few caveats that we want to add. And I think there was 3 points I added. The one was, if you as the bride plan to be fashionably late, you need to allow for it. Okay, so if you want to be 5 or 10 minutes late, which some brides would like to do, just allow for that. It's maybe not the worst idea, because my second point was, will your guest be on time? And you'll be shocked to find how many times we've had the bride having to circle around the block or walk back into the bridal suite just because some more guests are arriving.
It's actually, it's more
frequent than, it's more often than you would. Yeah.
It's actually shocking
yeah.
how many people don't have respect for the bride and groom and don't pitch up on time.
So our suggestion is always do let's say 3:30 for 4 o'clock, for instance. If you were planning to start your ceremony at 4 o'clock, do a 3:30 for 4 o'clock, and then you plan to walk in at 10 past or 4:15. It just gives you that little bit of breathing space to allow for that 1 or 2 late guests. I mean, we've had one wedding where not just friends, where family members were actually a half an hour late, and everything was put on ice until that family arrived. So
I think you can even communicate it in your invitation, whether it's a card or whether it's an e-card. Just actually stipulate that you're going to start a certain time.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with people nowadays, but they're not on time.
It's one of those weird things. And then one last thing, actually 2 last things. One is, if you want to plan your walk-in time at the reception, you can kind of allow 15 minutes after we return to the venue. So let's say we were shooting off-site and we had to travel 10 minutes to get back to the venue. Allow yourself another 15 minutes to quickly run to the bathroom, touch up your makeup, and give a MC some time to get all the guests seated in the reception hall. So don't plan that, golden hour is, let's say, until 7:30 at night if it's a late October, November wedding. Don't then plan to walk in at 7:30. Allow yourself another 15 or 20 minutes so you can just take a breather again, have a sip of water, touch up your makeup, run to the toilet, and get all the guests seated and calm and relaxed, and then only do you walk in.
Again, most of the time you have to wait for the guests to get seated and to get their glasses charged.
It often takes the MC.
Take them from the bar to the tables.
Yeah.
It is what it is. I mean, you've also attended a lot of weddings that you know how it goes. If the guys and the ladies are at the bar, it takes a little bit of more time to get them to the tables.
The only thing then is there's no more rush normally. I mean, it's only if your caterer or someone is very specific about the time that the main course must be served or things like that. But other than that, I mean, at least now most of the stress is away. It's already dark. There's no more sunlight we're chasing or things like that.
But it's also essential for the caterers.
For the caterers to have those times correctly. And then the last thing I wanted to say is, if your venue is in a valley, just chat to your venue owners in terms of, if the area, I immediately think of a place like Karedo as a Gaibos and the woods and those places where
the sun is setting behind
let's say at 7
mountain.
o'clock, but then actually the sunset on the venue is like 10 or 15 minutes earlier. So if you're going to do this planning, if we do the planning with a bride, we look at that. If it's a venue, we know most of the venues, but I mean, if it's a venue we don't know, we'll actually chat to the owners of the venue to just find out, if sunset time is X,
when's the shadows?
Yeah, when is the actual sunset time? So just keep that in mind, that you don't plan everything to a T and then arrive there and then a half an hour earlier it's dark. So that can happen, but get your input from your venue, get your input from your photographer. We've drafted a very simple template over the years that we help the brides and grooms with this specific planning. It sounds like a mouthful, but I do think it's important. I think the worst,
extremely important.
the worst,
case scenario.
what we've had is where we had a few weddings where we would sit in the reception hall and we'd look out of that window and we would see the most perfect sunset.
This beautiful
and can
African
only imagine
red sun
the
sitting,
photographs.
and we're sitting
Listening to speeches, which could have happened a half an hour later.
Yeah.
It would not have made the day any less successful. So a little bit of planning in this instance go a very long way. And please remember, if you've done this planning and you opted to reschedule your wedding due to COVID-19, you will have to revisit this, because a lot of couples were planning to get married in, let's say, August or September, October, and they've moved to next year, March or April. So the sunset times are way different. The direction of the sun and the time of the sun sets are totally different. So if you've done this, please just revisit your planning, check the sunset times, and then readjust your schedule so that your ceremony starts at the right time. There's no rush, and you can relax and have the most beautiful photographs.
I think that's all. I also want to say, no, that's not all. A lot of people think that you have to get married at 4 o'clock.
Yeah, it's funny.
I don't know why 4 o'clock or 3:30 or 4 o'clock.
Well, in December, we often have weddings that start at 5 o'clock because the sun only sets at 7:30 or 20 to 8, and you've got golden hour running until after 8 o'clock.
I'm glad that you touched on everything, because there's no such thing as a wedding have to start at a certain time. It depends on the season, it depends on the area, depends on everything.
And again, we're talking now about an afternoon wedding. I mean, we know it's quite fashionable to have morning weddings, which is something totally different. So
it's got its own challenges, because then you have to do the shoot at 12 o'clock.
We'll find a lot of shade.
Yeah. So, but never mind that. This was for an
afternoon wedding.
Wedding.
Most of the weddings in our area is afternoon weddings.
But the
most
party
of the weddings
is in the evening.
Yes, with a reception at night.
Yeah.
So that's it from us today. If you have any questions about this, please email us.
Yeah,
if we are photographing your wedding, we will gladly assist you to do this planning. Like I say, it sounds like a mouthful, but I do think it's worth explaining why it is seems as complicated as it is. It isn't. You can do it yourself, or I would really strongly advise that you get the assistance of your photographer and at least the venue, just to make sure you're not forgetting anything. And it just makes sure that your day runs smoothly and you get the best possible photographs. Yeah, so that's that for episode 24. We will obviously be back tomorrow with episode 25. And please remember to subscribe. We'll put the details below. Our email address will be below as well if you want to email us. Thank you for watching. And remember, when we get to 1,000 subscribers, we'll be giving away that Rieg AD family lifestyle or couple shoot. I think when we get there, I will know this verse so well. But please subscribe.
When we get there, I will know this verse.
Yes.
But
we really want to give it away.
We want to give it away.
So please subscribe.
And share the link with your friends. Share the link with your friends that's planning to get married, that's don't have a photographer yet, who's just into weddings. Share it with everyone.
Idea is really to just share our knowledge. Like I said, we don't want to give the impression that we know everything, but we've learned a lot from doing hundreds of weddings in the last 50 years. And
You're giving away our age now.
Oh, sorry, we're still very young.
We started early.
See you all tomorrow.
Okay, bye guys. See you tomorrow.